Good evening, I am Jarvis Barney with your VOA Major News Package for today, Wednesday, 28th August 2019. In our lead stories nationally, slight increase in prison population here in St. Kitts and Nevis, and agencies from Barbados visit St. Kitts to examine police operation with gangs. Regionally, Dorian makes little impact on Barbados and St. Lucia. Internationally, Brazil governors push President Bolsonaro to accept aid to fight Amazon fires. And in sports, West Indies interim coach says we got to bat properly if success is to be achieved. We'll have the details to these and other stories after this message.
Another look.
Different from how you've seen it before.
Another look.
Takes an in-depth look into business, politics, science, technology, religion, and more.
Another look.
Featuring documentaries from the BBC, regional features, and local ones too.
Another look.
Every Monday at 3 p.m. on the Eastern Caribbean's powerhouse, Vaughan.
Welcome back on the one to the national news in detail. What is the status as it relates to the number of individuals incarcerated here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis? As at August 22nd, 2019, there were 190 persons in correctional facilities on both islands, a slight increase when compared to 2018. Speaking on the August 22nd edition of Policing With You, Commissioner of Prisons and Corrections Mr. Terence James provided a breakdown of the inmates, and he also gave a breakdown of the inmates at Her Majesty's Prison in St. Kitts.
At present in Her Majesty's Prison, we have 173 personnel as of this morning. Out of that 173, we have 41 is awaiting the magistrate court, who are awaiting trial in the High Court or the Circuit Court. We have 13 persons awaiting trial. Convicted in the Circuit Court, we have 70 out of that 173. 70 have been convicted in the High Court, and 17 has been convicted in the Magistrate Court. The females, we have a low number, 5 female at this time.
He also provided figures as it relates to those incarcerated at the Nevis Prison Farm.
For the farm in Nevis, the prison farm, we have 26 persons on the prison farm in Nevis. 24 was convicted in the High Court and 2 in the Magistrate Court.
Mr. Terence James. In 2018, there were a total of 177 in correctional facilities, 164 inmates in St. Kitts, 156 males and 8 females, and at Nevis, there were 13 males imprisoned. Representatives from a number of agencies in Barbados visited St. Kitts and Nevis last week to examine the current police initiative to curb gang violence. The representatives came from the offices of the United States Embassy and the British National Crime Agency NCA, which are responsible for Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean and the Royal Barbados Police Force. Senior manager with the British National Crime Agency, John Bowman, explained that he has been amazed with the results the police are having in St. Kitts and Nevis. He was first updated about the initiative by the High Command. The senior manager at the NCA disclosed that he was going to share the information he gathered about the initiative with some of his colleagues and other Caribbean islands that the agency supports. Bowman has 32 years of experience as a police officer. He also added that he was impressed by the number of firearms that have been taken into police custody through the effort. According to Mr. Bowman, his agency has worked with St. Kitts to help tackle the high levels of violent crimes that have been occurring. Composer of the national anthem of St. Kitts and Nevis, Mr. Kenrick Anderson Georges, has passed away. According to information from Mr. Georges' Facebook page, he died on Monday, August 26th, and he was born in Newtown, St. Kitts on May 1st, 1955, and he was 64 when he passed away. Written and composed by Mr. Georges, O Land of Beauty was officially adopted as St. Kitts and Nevis' national anthem in 1983 when the Federation gained its independence. Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris extended his deepest condolences and those of the government and people of St. Kitts and Nevis to the family and loved ones on the passing of Mr. Kenrick Georges, who was a writer for the national anthem. Mr. Kenrick Anderson Georges lays behind his wife, Bernice, his children, Deidre, Gigi, Kenil, Kenija, Kenisha, Kenricia, and Kenrick, and his grandchildren. Two members of the Organization of Rastafarian Unity, ORU, Chairman of the Unity, Mr. Ras Iroy, and Unity Representative, Mr. Ras Aya, expressed their dissatisfaction of the first reading of the Cannabis Bill 2019 on the Let's Talk program, which was aired on August 27th. During the discussion, Ras Iroy alluded to the societal change in perspective of the use of marijuana and the involvement of the Rastafarian community.
We see today a shift in the minds of what we call Babylon. We see them trying to make as much money as they can over the same herb for which they persecuted I&I. And so I&I declare that any adjustments to the legal status or any adjustments to the industry and the economic benefit of cannabis, marijuana in this country must include Rastafari and the voice of Rastafari. And we are saying presently that is not the case.
He also indicated that the present government did not acknowledge the views put forward by persons during the consultations.
Even though they're claiming that's what the Commission recommended, from the surveys within the Commission's report, we would have seen the majority of people in St. Kitts Nevis wanted marijuana to be freed up, whether decriminalized or legalized for medicinal use. Medicinal was about 85%, for recreational use about 67%, and for religious use about 65%.
However, he mentioned the issues of the Organization of Rastafarian Unity have with the Cannabis Bill 2019.
The Drug Act was a violation to one's personal freedom, to your right of privacy. That means anybody in St. Kitts Nevis had a right to use marijuana in the confines of their home, in the privacy of their home. And police had no call to come in there and knock down your door and take it up a spliff. All this spliff that we don't get locked up for was wrong.
Chairman of the Organization of Rastafarian Unity, Ras Iroy. Amidst an increase of rainfall due to the intensification of activity of the 2019 Atlantic hurricane season, there is a possibility of a surge in mosquito-borne diseases. Manager of the Nevis Solid Waste Management Authority, Mr. Andrew Hendrickson, is cautioning the public on mosquito breeding sites.
My advice would be to keep your surroundings clean, and as you mentioned, there are items which provide excellent water catching opportunities. Once rainfall, water will catch in them and the mosquitoes will be able to breed. So my advice would be jump on the bandwagon right now and take the initiative to clean up your environment, get all of these items that may be scattered around your backyard to the landfill.
Subsequent to this, the department continues steadfast in its Keep Nevis Clean campaign. The authority will be embarking on a collaborative effort to ensure proper disposal of garbage across Nevis.
I am happy to say that the Nevis Solid Waste Management Authority, in collaboration with the Environmental Health Department, we shall be launching an island-wide initiative of distributing roll-off bins throughout the island in strategic locations so that the villagers, the various communities can come together, get them loaded. So I would advise that the people in the various villages to keep their ears open.
Mr. Hendrickson also had this to say.
For the month of September, the Nevis Solid Waste Management will be granting an amnesty where you can bring your white goods and other bulky items to the landfill free of charge.
Mr. Andrew Hendrickson. According to a release from the CIBC First Caribbean Bank, year number 8 is shaping up to be great for the region's largest cancer fundraising and awareness event dubbed Walk for the Cure. The bank also plans to surpass its target of $550,000 this year. Over the last 7 years, the event has raised over $2.2 million in US currency. The walk weekends will again be in September and October this year, with the majority of the walks taking place the first weekend in October. Since its inception 7 years ago, the walk has resulted in an increase from $30,000 to $512,306 $367.39 in U.S. currency, which was raised in 2018. Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce CIBC First Caribbean Bank is a relationship bank offering a full range of market-leading financial services through their corporate and investment banking, retail and business banking and wealth management segments. CIBC First Caribbean is a member of the CIBC Group. And lastly, in our national news segment, news that the government of St. Kitts and Nevis intends to become a signatory to the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities was welcomed by President of the St. Kitts and Nevis Association of Persons with Disabilities, Joseph Bergen. The government's intention was made clear by Minister of Social Development, the Honorable Eugene Hamilton, during the opening of the 10th Regional Assembly of Disabled People International North America and the People DPI-NAC held at the St. Kitts Marriott Resort from August 23rd to the 25th. According to UN.org, the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities and its optional protocol, ARES 61106, was adopted on December 13, 2006 at the United Nations headquarters in New York and was opened for signature on March 30, 2007. The convention follows decades of work by the United Nations to change attitudes and approaches to persons with disabilities. That's the national news segment. You can visit our website at www.vonradio.com, or you can check us out on Facebook at Von Radio or our Von Radio YouTube channel for these and other stories. News from across the region is next.
Ladies and gentlemen, this here's another one for the steppers.
Swipe to win big in 2019. That's right, the Bank of Nevis Limited is once again giving you, our valued customers, a chance to win big. Just swipe or use your Bond Visa credit card for US $100 for a chance to win a cruise for two, an iPhone XS, or a grocery dash at Best Buy Supermarket.
Say what?
Sign up for a Bond Visa credit card and automatically be entered for a chance to win. This offer ends August 31st, 2019. So tell your friends and family to swipe to win big with the Bank of Nevis. The Bank of Nevis Limited, improving the quality of life. Like us on Facebook or follow us on Instagram.
Welcome back and now on to the regional news. Tropical storm Dorian moved across Barbados late Monday night and across St. Lucia on Tuesday morning without causing any significant damage and is now heading into the Caribbean Sea, according to the Caribbean 360. Warnings and watches have been discontinued for Barbados and St. Lucia, which were virtually unscathed. However, a hurricane watch is now in effect for Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic from Isla Sonora to Samana. Meantime, a record number of residents sought refuge in shelters across Barbados on Monday as the country braced for tropical storm Dorian. Chief Education Officer and Chief Shelter Warden Karen Best said there were 59 persons staying in shelters, a first for Barbados. It was reported that everything went well at the shelters and cleaning crews were deployed to clean the shelters in preparation for the resumption of regular activities. Meantime, according to AccuWeather.com, at 5 p.m. today, Category 1 Hurricane Dorian was located at 18.80 degrees north and 65.50 degrees west, about 45 miles away from St. Thomas, United States Virgin Islands, USVI. The winds were 80 miles per hour. The gusts, however, were 100 miles per hour. It was moving northwest at 14 miles per hour and its pressure was 997 millibars. Elsewhere, Erin was located between North Carolina and Bermuda and has sustained winds of 35 miles per hour. The position of Erin was 34.50 degrees north, 72.70 degrees west. The gusts were 45 miles per hour and it was moving north at 13 miles per hour. Wind shear continues to take its toll on the system, with all of the convection displaced to the south of the center of circulation. For the rest of the day into the end of the week, a trough of low pressure exiting the eastern United States will cause Erin to accelerate to the north and east through the end of the week. During this time, the weak tropical cyclone is likely to transition to a non-tropical low pressure area and move into Atlantic Canada Thursday night into Friday. There will be gusty winds and heavy rain with this, though damaging impacts are not expected. In Jamaica, Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton has given a September 30th deadline for a review of the protocols existing for reporting cases of sexual harassment in the health sector. He was speaking at his ministry's quarterly press conference on Tuesday, following a front-page story by the Jamaica Observer on August 12th, which reported the plight of junior doctors who have accused their seniors of sexual harassment. The junior doctors told the Observer, on condition of anonymity, that they have either experienced sexual harassment or know a colleague who has been sexually harassed or assaulted. They also alleged victimization at the hands of senior doctors who, they said, are keen on maintaining a culture of abuse. The minister said in relation to the aforementioned that he has asked the chairman of SERHA, which stands for Southeast Regional Health Authority, Mr. Wentworth Charles, to look at the protocols that currently entails as it relates to these breaches and to determine whether or not anything can be done to strengthen those protocols. He said this will serve to encourage people to report sexual harassment, an issue doctors have said is rife at public health facilities. And lastly, in our regional news segment, news from Guyana, investigators of the Guyana Civil Aviation Authority GCAA are continuing their probe of the incident last Wednesday night, which temporarily crippled an American airline plane. GCAA said that it is continuing to probe last week's late-night incident, which left an American airline plane disabled. According to KITANews.com, KITANewsonline.com, the authority also said the investigations will conclude next week with a public statement to be issued shortly after. On Wednesday, August 21st, at approximately 12:30 a.m., American Airlines flight number AA1512 destined to Miami, United States, was executing a left turn on the runway threshold for takeoff. At this time, the pilot of the Airbus 319 aircraft, registration N9025B, taxied by backtracking the runway 06 in order to position the aircraft for takeoff on RWYZ06. And that's it for our regional news segment. Stay with us for news around the world. Welcome back on our one to the international news. The governors of 9 Brazilian states, most affected by a record number of fires, have urged President Jair Bolsonaro to accept foreign aid to fight the blazes. Mr. Bolsonaro had earlier refused a G7 offer of $22 million, following a spat with French President Emmanuel Macron, but following a meeting between the governors and Mr. Bolsonaro, the government shifted its position on aid. It said it would accept it as long as it had control of what to spend it on. A record number of fires are burning in Brazil, most of them in the Amazon region. The Amazon is a vital carbon store that slows down the pace of global warming. President Bolsonaro said last week that his government lacked the resources to fight the fires. Leaders of the 7 leading industrial nations met in France and offered $22 million to help fight the blazes. Despite the offer of aid, President Bolsonaro last week rejected the offer arguing that the G7 countries were treating Brazil like a colony or a no man's land. Forces loyal to the internationally recognized government in Yemen have advanced into the southern city of Aden, which they lost to separatist fighters earlier this month. More from the BBC's Sebastian Usher.
Officials from the Yemeni government are talking up the progress being made by their troops after their humiliating rout from Aden, the government's temporary capital. The information minister has said they've retaken the main gate of the airport and are securing other districts. They do clearly seem to have wrested back the initiative against the separatists elsewhere in the south. There are reports of fighting inside Aden, as well as shelling from the advancing pro-government forces. The loss of Aden revealed a major split within the Gulf coalition that's been fighting Houthi rebels for more than 4 years, as the separatists, backed by the UAE, turned on government troops backed by Saudi Arabia.
Parliament will be suspended, that's actually the UK Parliament will be suspended, just days after MPs return to work in September and only a few weeks before the Brexit deadline. UK's Prime Minister Boris Johnson said a Queen's speech would take place after the suspension on October 14th to outline his very exciting agenda. However, it means the time MPs have to pass laws to stop a no-deal Brexit on October 31st would be cut. House of Commons Speaker John Bercow said it was a constitutional outrage. Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn said suspending Parliament is not acceptable, it is not on. What the Prime Minister is doing is a smash and grab on our democracy to force through a no deal, he said. Here is Mr. Johnson.
We're not going to wait until October the 31st before getting on with our plans to take this country forward. And this is a new government with a very exciting agenda to make our streets safer. It's very important we bring violent crime down. We need to invest in our fantastic NHS. And to do that, we need new legislation. And that's why we are going to have a Queen's speech, and we're going to do it on October the 14th.
And the value of the pound has fallen following news that Prime Minister Boris Johnson is planning to suspend Parliament on September 9th. The move is expected to prevent opposition leaders from passing a law to stop a no-deal Brexit. The pound is down 0.62% against the euro and 0.74% against the US dollar. So £1 is now worth 1.10 euro and $1.22 in US currency. The FTSE 100, largely made up of stocks that could benefit from a devaluation of sterling, is down 0.29%. Many of those listed firms book much of their earnings in foreign currencies and benefit from a weak pound. The FTSE 250, a stock index that is seen as more representative of the UK's economy, has fallen by 1%. And that brings us to the end of our news segment. The latest in sports is next.
Hey Alexa, what's the buzz this summer?
The summer buzz is happening now with TDC Hire Purchase at the TDC Home and Building Depot St. Kitts and Nevis. Activate any hire purchase account through September 30th and receive 20% off, free delivery, free assembly, gift items, back to school and uniform vouchers. Be sure to ask about their 3-month 0% interest accounts. That's what's buzzing this summer with TDC Hire Purchase. See stores for details. Terms and conditions apply.
Yeah, so that's what's up. Thanks, Alexa.
You are welcome, EK. Anytime.
Welcome back, and now on to the sports. In cricket, West Indies cricket interim head coach Floyd Rayford says getting bigger scores out of the batsmen will be key if they are to level the 2-match series against India in the second test at Sabina Park starting Friday. The Jamaica Observer quoted him as saying, "We got to bat properly. We need to see off that new ball. We need to build partnerships down the road, and we need to go on to score hundreds." The regional side, led by Jason Holder, trailed 0-1 in the series after losing the first test in Antigua by 318 runs. The West Indies batting proved the biggest weakness. They were dismissed for 222 in their first innings and 100 in their second. The Virat Kohli captained India's side, which batted first, registered scores of 297 and 343 for 7 declared. For the hosts, pacer Kemar Roach captured 4 first innings wickets, while spinner Rustin Chase finished with 4 in the second innings. Chase top scored with 48 in their first innings. Mr. Rafe also said that a lot of the challenge is down to lack of concentration. Still in cricket, South Africa captain Faf du Plessis has joined Kent as an overseas player, with the county bidding to reach the 2020 Blast knockout stages. The Spitfires are third in the South Group with 2 games to play and may need to win both to secure a place in the quarterfinals. Du Plessis, 35, arrives in time for the home match against second-placed Gloucestershire on Thursday. He replaces Afghanistan all-rounder Mohamed Nabi in Kent's T20 squad, as well as bolstering their side following an injury to New Zealand fast bowler Adam Milne. Du Plessis has previous experience of county cricket after playing for Lancashire under a Colpack agreement in 2007. In more cricket, West Indies under-15 Rising Stars team completed its summer tour of England last weekend, winning 2 of their 4 completed games, with rain forcing the other matches to be abandoned. This tour was the 5th consecutive summer tour to England by the West Indies under-15 team. It is a reward for the top-performing young players in the West Indies Rising Stars under-15 Championship tournament held in Antigua this April, which was won by Trinidad and Tobago. In football, officials from Paris Saint-Germain and Barcelona met in Paris on Tuesday to discuss a possible deal for Neymar to return to the Spanish champions. According to BBC Radio 5 Live's Guillem Balag, both clubs say the talks were positive, but there is still lots of work to do. Brazil forward Neymar, 27, joined PSG from Barcelona in 2017 for a world record fee of €222 million, and Barca is offering €170 million to be paid after a year's loan. The loan cost would be at least €35 million, though they may offer players to reduce the cash payment as negotiations continue. The Catalan press, following leaks from the club, suggested Neymar was pushing for the deal to go through. Following the meeting, Barca board member Javier Bodas told reporters the deal was closer, but negotiations were continuing. And lastly, in our sports segment in athletics, BBC commentator Steve Cram says his reaction to sprinter Christian Coleman being charged with missing 3 drugs tests is less of surprise, more of despair. He will be banned for 1 year if found guilty at an arbitration hearing on September 4th, ruling him out of the World Championships and 2020 Olympic Games. American Coleman ran the fastest 100-meter time in the world this year in June. In the wake of this, Mr. Coleman has said that what has been widely reported concerning filing violations is simply not true, adding that he is confident that the USADA hearing will clear the matter. And that's it for sports. The weather is next. Welcome back. Tonight's weather will continue to be occasionally cloudy with a 60% chance of showers. The weather tomorrow will be partly sunny with a moderate chance of showers. The winds are southeast becoming east-southeast by tomorrow afternoon, with speeds ranging between 15 and 28 kilometers per hour. The seas are not exceeding 1.5 meters. The sunrise tomorrow will be at 5:56 a.m. And that's how we wrap up the major news package for today, Wednesday, 28th August 2019. Before we go, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Nationally, slight increase in prisoner population here in St. Kitts and Nevis, and agencies from Barbados visit St. Kitts to examine police operation with gangs. Regionally, Dorian makes little impact on Barbados and St. Lucia. Internationally, Brazil governors push for the president to accept aid to fight Amazon fires. And in sports, West Indies interim coach says we got to bat properly if success is to be achieved. On behalf of the rest of the news team, I am Jarvis Bond wishing